What is going on, gentlemen? Today we're talking about overcoming plateaus in your 30s or late 20s. All right. So if you're like me, you probably trained a lot, long time, and eventually you just hit a sticking point. And you've done everything you think you can do. You might not have the knowledge base to incorporate some of these more advanced stuff into it. So we're going to use an example today with a squat, right? So our 1 rep max hasn't increased in 3-4 months. Can't do anything. We're going in, we're trying different rep schemes, trying different weights, and nothing's increasing that 1 rep max when we go back to test it, or 3 rep max depending. Up to you. So what you might want to try to do, and there's going to be a couple things. So tip number 1 is going to be our triphasic training. What triphasic training is, we break down into the 3 actions of a muscle. So there's 3 actions. We have our concentric, our isometric, and our eccentric. So I'm going to use a bicep curl just to show that a little bit because I'm in a tight office. But I got a band, I'm doing a cable curl, right? So this motion's our concentric, this motion's our eccentric, and your isometric could be anywhere where it's just a static hold and you're just resisting whatever that pull is. Most people like to do about halfway through or a full hold. All right, same thing with the chin up, right? Full isometric, my eccentric slow down, concentric all the way up. All right, so it's something you might want to try to do. Generally, people will do 2 to 4 weeks of training it like that. So I might do 2 weeks of the isometric where I'm holding a squat just above my depth. So I'm keeping tension on my muscle and I'm not just kind of sitting into the hips. So it's going to keep tension on the muscle. I'm going to be actively creating more force that entire time. So there's going to be more stress and time on tension on the muscle. So I will do that for 2 weeks. Then I would do eccentric for 2 weeks. So I'm going to go 3 seconds down, 3 to 5, slow down depending on the weight we're using. Slow down, controlling my weight, and then firing back up. Control it down, fire back up. And then I would go into another 2 weeks or 4 weeks of our concentric. So that's just going to be normal speed, no tempo, just down and up as fast as we can. Again, with control on the way down. I like to always go as fast as I can through the concentric, no matter what the lift is. Always training max intent. That translates over very well, and kind of you'll see gains just from constantly going as fast as you can, even if the bar isn't going fast. But you're internally going as fast as you can. All right, so that's the first one, triphasic training. You can look into that. There's a lot of articles online, or you can message me and we can talk about that and how to incorporate it in your lift. Some people will use it on all of their exercises on a given day. I like to really only use it on my main movements. So if I had a full body day 3 times a week, and let's say Monday's my squat day, I'll probably only use it on my squats or my split squat or my lunge or something like that. Let's say Wednesday's my bench day. Probably only use it on my bench, right? Everything else will be normal. And then let's say our Fridays are RDLs or deadlift day. Again, probably only going to use it on my RDLs or deadlifts. Just because it is very taxing and it's hard to do that for 6-8 exercises across 3 sets each, 4 sets each, whatever you may be doing, 2 sets. So I like to just stick it to my main lifts, and then we might supplement that in. But that's option 1, triphasic training. Option number 2 is going to be looking into a little bit kind of like almost like a conjugate, like Louis Simmons, where we're going to do a dynamic effort day, a max effort day, and then a repetition effort day. So what that's doing is, let's say Monday's our dynamic effort day. So that's going to be all speed-based. Now when I say that, not a lot of people are sprinting in this age group that we're talking about, and that's okay. Maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. That's up to you to decide and your healthcare professionals. But that would be, a big focus. So it might be speed squats, speed bench, rack pulls for speed, stuff like that, where our concentric is going to be always fast as possible. So we're going to be using lighter weight and moving as fast as we can. So most people like to kind of find that 60% of your max is that sweet spot. You do that, for 4 reps or so. That's kind of what people like to do. So that would be our dynamic effort day. Now you can supplement in some accessory stuff for a little bit more hypertrophy work if you want to and it works with your schedule. I like to just keep it more like a sprint, jump, move a bar fast kind of day. Our Wednesday in this case could be our repetition effort day or our max effort day. Decide that based on what's going to fatigue you the least. So if we were to do a max effort day, that's going to be looking a little bit more standard, like a 4 sets of 2, using closer to that 90%, 95% of a 1 rep max. So maybe you're only hitting singles, doubles, potentially triples. So that's going to be a real strength focused day. And then our Friday is going to be repetition focused, very simple, like hypertrophy. We're going to be trying to build up a lot of reps through our sets. Now you could do, the standard 3 sets of 10 to 12, 15. I kind of like 6 sets of 6 to 8 on mine. Maybe I'll push it a little bit higher, but 6 to 8 is going to give me just enough strength stimulus and a hypertrophy stimulus. So I'm going to be growing muscle and gaining strength at the same time. But if we're already doing that max effort day, you can go a little bit higher on the reps and you're just looking to accumulate volume. That's fine. So that's your second option, right? The almost like a conjugate, using all 3 forms of training in a weekly cycle. And then the third option I would suggest is trying just something new, right? So, you're consistently squatting. Okay, well, have we tried box squatting? Throw box squatting in for 2-3 weeks. Have we tried what's another good one? A pin squat, right? So, we're training with those 2 options in ranges, not full ranges, but maybe our sticking range, right? Maybe you can get out of the whole of the squat, but once you're back, a little bit of butt parallel is where you struggle. Well, if we're doing a box squat, we're working on that exact thing. Same thing with the bench press, right? Maybe I can get it off my chest, but I can't get past here. So maybe I want to do a board press and I'm working that top half of the motion. So I'm just changing, the ranges, and I'll do that for 2-3 weeks. Some people like to alternate it like weekly. So 1 week will be a board press, the next week will be like an eccentric bench, and then the third week could be like a normal bench or chain bench. So this is stuff to play around with, super simple, but those are 3 ways to help overcome plateaus on your big lists. As well as gaining that muscle, right? So it's 3 ways. If you have questions, let me know. I find they work really well, and also just give me a little bit more entertainment while I'm working out. I'm not just doing the same thing every day. Give it a shot.